You're welcome on Black Hot Fire Network. Um, Good evening. Today is a Wednesday and it's the 27th of December and 4 days to go. Um, and of course, this is Black Hot Fire Network and it's me, Africa Maria, with my colleague INNOSSETU. We are broadcasting live from the heart of Kampala. Thank you so much for those who are just joining me, and thank you so much for those who always, of course, I dare to always be on our live. It is to have a book. As we are heading to 2024, we thought probably this would be a nice topic for us to revise and of course think about the problems that are facing Africa's economy. Like, why is our economy like Africans not developing? Um, we know very well that Africa is one of the richest continents in the world because we have minerals, we have the climate, we have the population that makes, of course, the population that controls the world of economy. Africa are having these factors that control the economy: population, raw materials, labor, and of course the climate. And I think those are basically the major things that people look at. These are things that are very conducive for economical development. Unfortunately, Africa itself is still lagging behind as we count down come forth 2024. We hope to see a tremendous change within the Africa's economy. So that you send me coming back in.
Yeah.
We expect to see a greater 2024, but before that, I'm gonna highlight a little bit through the topics that I'll be handling about today's. Sorry, through I'll just be bulleting a little bit of the elements that I'll be handling. Of course, poverty and income inequality among uh, you know the elements that, of course, are affecting Africa's economic development: corruption, infrastructure deficit, unemployment, dependence on natural resources, inadequate system that doesn't suit the African people, political instabilities, debt burden, health challenges, climate change, of which we know our climate is is changing tremendously, and above all, the lack of pace of Africa production. Apparently, for a very long time, um, Africans have not been able to produce. Um, they have not been able to produce goods of their own. But we know throughout history that Africans have been producers. We have hired a strong business people like Mensa, who is known all over the world. We have known Africa as we had Smith, who Jibjaba is right in the building. Hello, Jibjaba. Hope you're doing good. How have you been? Yeah, so we know that high levels of poverty and income equality persists in many African countries, which of course hinders the economic development and exacerbating social challenges. We have had poverty and income equality. This has been a system that has been structured to keep the poor so poor and to keep the rich very rich or more richer. For some good time, we have been talking about how Africa's government, Africa's social lives have been structured to, of course, provide the inequalities both in every aspect of life. We have a very big, huge difference when it comes to the Africans in all walks of life. The rich isolate themselves, and the middle class, and that's how they categorize, and then the low class, and then there are those ones who are in absolute poverty. If you decide to divide a country like that, that even people will get to know, if you cross this road to the other side, is where you find rich people. If you cross to the other side, is where you find fairly, rich people. If you move to the other side, is where you find absolutely poor people. And this kind of structure, has not only been seen in Africa, but also outside Africa in countries like United States of America, where the poor are definitely isolated from the rich. Even the schools the rich attend, uh, poor people can never attend or they can never afford. We are well. Take your home remedy and don't you to get sick. You two are wearing black. Did you just complete a mission? Oh, maybe. Jibijaba. Crazy. um, Jibjaba, what is the structure? What is the structural living of the poor and the rich where you are right now? Are the poor segregated or separated from the rich? Are they able to cohabit, or are they able to live to coexist with each other, or are they segregated? Because as we address this poverty or income inequality, segregation in Africa, we see that this is a structure that was not only enforced here in Africa, but also outside Africa. And usually, when there is this big separation, we always have a struggle as people strive, as people tend to be oppressed in one way or the other. I'm going to use schools, for example, being one of the examples. In Africa's education system, there is basically, I'm going to look at Uganda. Let me not say Africa because I may not be like 100% sure with other schools, but I know the system is all over Africa. There are schools that are known. for of course that are so prominent, and somebody will tell you they guarantee 100% assurance that if a child goes in that school, they will have secured their future. They'll be able to attain good jobs. They'll be able to attain different of course different things that other children have not, which of course makes me think that most of these things are not on merit. All right, because we have seen children who have studied in poor schools, children who have come in absolute poor families or humble backgrounds. When they are smart, they exhibit a high degree of intelligence. They work hard, and at times we feel like they deserve the best, but the country or the world is not going to give them that, simply because they are quoted as poor people. The schools from which they have attained their education, they do not satisfy them to give them that capability of competing with probably even people who are dull, even people who are not smart enough to challenge their mind, but simply because there is that badge that is categorized with the education system. Now, there are schools that are known in Uganda that it is very unlikely for someone to attend that school and not get a job, for someone to attend that school and not find a job. And because first thing, even before they graduate to other universities, someone has already logged a job for these people. The moment you have a CV, the moment you have that school on your CV, that is already a done deal. So before I go ahead, let me first read some comments. All right, and welcome it. Greetings to the host of the show. Thank you so much, Indigo. Greetings back to you. And also, she says, same in the US, we are segregated by income and zip code. Uh, um, Peace and love to everyone there. Dropped. Are we? Oh, okay, okay. We read that already. You are segregated. You're segregated. Yes, this is the same. This is the same issue. If at all societies are, if at all people in a society are segregated in this manner, that everyone finds probably they are comfortable in their own zone. There is nobody to compete with in development, and then you are not seeing the great things other people are doing. This keeps the community or the society in a shelf, like they don't know what happens outside their own world. They don't know what is taking place outside their own world. And this is the challenge that Africa is apparently experiencing. Um, Last of recent, I'm still gonna drive a little bit to, I always love using close examples of things I've experienced. We may be people living in Uganda. Probably I'm here with INNOSSETU, but we might have experienced life in a similar way. But again, at times, there are things like, INNOSSETU would be telling me, and I'm like, are you serious? Apart from the fact that we have one common thing, I think both of us, as we are growing up, we are crazy and very stubborn. That's one thing I've realized from the conversations we share. But there are times the things he has experienced, and I still wonder, like, how was that even happening in the same country where I have been growing from? So that one is so closed. There are some things that happen in Uganda that even some people don't know. There are some foods that people eat in Uganda that some other people in Uganda have never tasted before. There is a certain life that people in Uganda experience on a daily basis that some people in the same country probably even have never seen on TV, and they don't know that that kind of life exists. If a community or a society reaches that level, that means there is a huge difference. There is a huge difference and inequality, an economical inequality between these two groups of people. Somebody probably has never slept hungry before. Probably someone has even never gone to a certain kind of hospital. Maybe even they don't know if those kind of hospitals really do exist. Now, these two people are going to grow up differently. Their understanding is going to be different. Their exposure is different, and I can tell you their household hits differently. But it's so very unfortunate that people who are always privileged in Africa are people who have a rich background. And that's why, like, people for like us to grab from a humble background, you have to make sure you hustle day in, day out to make sure that you, of course, find or and meet to make sure that at least you try to change something. But if at all a country is in control of its economy, I expect to see people in that same country sharing a lot in common when it comes to prices. One, um, when it comes to prices, the commodities they buy, everyone should be able to buy something at the same level. It doesn't matter which store you're going to, it doesn't matter what kind of food you're buying. Which, of course, is very weird. At times, you will go to shop something and you realize this thing is cheap. Apparently, as we complain about Africa embracing things that come from outside Africa, and of course we being consumers of other people's other produces of other people, and we allowing Africa to be a dumping site for unwanted or goods that have no quality. The qualities in Africa also matter. You may find that you are buying the same good, or let me assume that you're buying the same toothpaste or the paste, or maybe let me use a toothbrush, and there is a toothbrush that was purposely created for the poor, and a toothbrush that was created for the middle class, and then a toothbrush that was made for the high class. Now these are three toothbrushes, and these kind of toothbrushes are sold in different places. You will realize probably if you go in an open market where the sun is also hitting the sellers who are selling this toothbrush, they're going to sell you a commodity that falls, because as you're coming to buy, you also fall in their category. And then we got these toothbrushes that you buy in a supermarket, and even if you go to the supermarket, they are also branded differently with a price tag. So take what you can afford and leave what you can afford. And there are still some social lives that don't enter usual stores for particular things. And if at all our country is at that level, that means there is a huge difference. There's a huge economical difference. Can someone comment? I don't know. Are we okay? Yeah, okay. Yes, by zip code and race. If okay, we are put into income brackets and tax brackets. That's a comment from Indigo. Thank you so much for that comment, sis. Jib Jabba also says, yes, by zip code and race. Even if you can afford a rich zip code, a black person is faced with the racial strife. That's America. I'm sorry to hear about that. Hi, okay. Thank you, Jiba. Okay. How can an economy or society grow without stable infrastructure, power, telecommunications, and of course roads? And that's one of our main problems. We are only consumers. Also here in America, Indigo says that black people are only consumers in America, and the same story goes down to actually Africa. Ajib Jabbar says that how can a country grow if they have poor infrastructure, road, telecommunications, and other things? If you look at most of the communication companies, I think most of the prominent communication companies in Africa, they are continent wide. That's MTN, right, and Airtel. Um, these are prominent or known telecommunication companies. that apparently some shareholders, some prominent people have shareholders, but we know that MTN bases in South Africa, and we know very well it is owned by Mzungu. And MTN is apparently everywhere in Africa. I don't say that's America. Apparently everywhere. And I do really agree that communication is very important when it comes to development or business, because one needs to be so updated about a different thing. Now, our tariffs, both in communication, the tariffs, and also, of course, the experience that people have towards these communication plans and tariffs is very complicated when it comes to Africa. Though people favor, someone will say, I prefer this kind of network or the other simply because it's a little bit cheaper. But at the end of the day, you will realize that it's extremely expensive, more especially if you are in a business world. We are live here on Black Hot Fire Network, and one thing for you know that we are using Wi-Fi. Usually when we are like communicating to kids, like at times it's like, how come your plan is very expensive and stuff like that? I don't know. But one thing, there is tax to everything. Everything apparently we consume in Africa, even the ones that belong to us, are taxed. The data is taxed. Um, the airtime holder is taxed. We call it airtime here. The credit you get to call someone is called airtime. It's taxed. And apparently, um, people may not look at this as something that is very expensive. But to calculate, if you're told you're a business person, you can still calculate and know how many people you've been communicating to and how expensive it gets. The more you communicate, the more expensive it gets. So um, that's how crazy our telecommunication is. We need black energy companies. Yet, yes, Indigo, I do agree with you 100%. In Uganda, do the phone companies run the internet companies? Yeah, like now we have the MTN internet here. Is the one we use basically. Phone companies. No, we have networks. I don't know how you're gonna understand this. First of all, we cannot have foreign companies because apparently we don't make phones. Um, we just have outlets. We made bad as we have these network companies. We have like MTN. At times, it can get a contract with Samsung, and then they start selling you a Samsung MTN phone. All right, but when it's not a Samsung company, and if we have a Samsung outlet, then it has got nothing to do with the network. So yeah, apparently, do you know Masumaga only the network? We don't. Yeah, we don't. It's a rocket. Usually taxes on utilities. Yeah. So at times the situation in Africa are very hard to. It's very hard for you to explain. I think if you're not patient enough. All right. Okay. Indigo says she's referring to gas and electric companies. Um. Yeah, I think we should be owning that even here, probably to get no tanga oil. But mami na oil to gas na oil to before makum. Before makum. Hmm? So that means since there is oil in Uganda, we may be able to produce gas. Uh-huh. That means we need to own that. Mm, mhm. Okay. Okay, I got it. The cell providers like MTN sell internet too. Yeah, because apparently MTN are focusing on that airtime situation, calling credit cards, of course, which move along with data. Yeah. Mm. So MTN just have contracts of other companies to possess some small phones and stuff like that. They are not known. You cannot say MTN is a company that sells phones. Um, we need to, of course, have to start producing energy. Indigo, we have been producing energy, but we have not been owning this energy. You know very well that Africa is one of the continents that actually produces oil. So we have oil being produced in Nigeria. We have oil in other countries among South Africa. Among South Africa, in oil. Among others, I will also have oil in Uganda, and I also believe that oil and gas work hand in hand. So when you discover oil, you've discovered gas. So we should be producers of these, except that the companies, we make contracts with the companies that take everything. As people talk about probably the minerals that have been discovered in Uganda that are even sitting on the biggest piece of land in Uganda, we're already seeing a lot of people coming in to finance the harvesting of these minerals, the mining of these minerals, the processing of these minerals, and even buyers who are ready to buy. So we think probably we may not own these companies because there are investors who want to invest and start to own these companies, as it has been seen throughout history. And unless we grab the bull by its horns, we may still see Africa being controlled economically, because once you give that tender to somebody else, that means this person is reliable of doing what they find fit and how they find fit when it comes to harvesting or mining or drilling whichever mineral that, of course, you have connected them with. We need to see a lot of Black people coming in position. Recently, when they discovered oil in one of the areas in Uganda, and basically that's like around my home area, people were coming from all over the world. Unfortunately, I did not see Black people come, but I don't know what is it with the Bazungu. I even don't know how Bazungu were so quick to come over there and start buying land. They actually own land at the oil wells. From nowhere, Bazungu started coming to construct hotels. You understand? There are big hotels there now that are owned by Bazunguers. From nowhere, people started to come and buy land, and stupid enough, the indigenous people started evacuating, because if someone comes and is giving you like 10 times the amount of money that you were not expecting to get that land, all right, then you evacuate. They give you the money, give them the land, and move. Remember, they were trying, when they discover oil, they displace the people. The government comes and gives you money according to what you find fit. You decide, you name the price. People were naming prices. Somebody says, I'm not moving unless you give me this amount of money. You understand? So people, but you would find that people sold their land at the cheapest price, because actually, if those people, no matter how much money they would have asked for, bandiba what the cent is. And then others were threatened. Other people were threatened to be killed unless they leave the land and stuff. So as people evacuated that land, again the government went around and started selling the land to the Chinese, the land to the white Americans. They started selling the land to the British people, apparently, even with the some South African, whites. So people started owning that land. They are not here yet, but they own that land because the oil wells are large. You understand? So they are doing this. It's like they are investing. They are doing future investment. I know we have Africans who are rich. I know we have Africans who can afford this, but we do not see Black people coming into this. And the oil in Uganda was a virgin oil. It is oil that has never been drilled before. And but the speed that these white people used to come and settle where that oil was discovered, you get or watch again at any time. These people are very calculative. They are very calculative, and unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, maybe we are not. Maybe we are very maybe we don't believe in our capabilities or something like that. But we actually didn't see a lot of rich people, because Africa, and we have a lot of rich people who would at least possess and claim such a thing. Anyway, but that's us. We need to understand that unless we involve ourselves in issues that develop our communities, no one is going to favor us. The next time, if you decide that the land that is surrounding the oil wells in Uganda is owned, gets to be owned by the British, by the white Americans, by the white South Africans and other whites around, and the Chinese, that means in the coming future, you will not even own this land. And this is the weakness that most African countries really have. It's all white companies who own gas, electricity, and that type of stuff. Yes, Indigo, the Uganda's electricity company is owned by the UK company. Actually, our company is called Umeme, and it's not owned by Ugandans, or it's not owned by any black person. This company, the electricity company in Uganda, is owned by the British, is owned by United Kingdom. And except that of recent, I think they wanted to remove that tender from them. I read that article last year. I'm yet to find out if they have, of course, if they have withdrawn, or if they have cancelled their contract, because apparently Museveni, the president of Uganda, was like, they are not delivering the way they promised. And I've tried to see them so very much trying to, of course, do charity work, the public relation propaganda and gender setting taking place. I think they still want to keep on, of course, owning the electricity. But like I said, they don't come like they are taking. They come like people who are going to have shares, like people who take tenders in managing these companies. Indirectly, when they are managing apparently everything that falls in that. Now, if United Kingdom decides to have its organization managing the electricity in Uganda, and then you go ahead and take debt from this very place, they will say, we are not going to, I mean, give you what we are supposed to pay you back since you have a debt, so we are cutting it from here. And that's how it's the same thing the Chinese are trying to do, you know. Uh-huh. Collaborate. Unfortunately, they are the power players. NGOs are species. They plant quietly for years to steal. If we steal, it's impulsive in most cases. My goodness. The people who own their own land are threatened by the powers that be evil people. We better wake up before it's too late. Yes, Indigo. We have had, you can see the best example with the eastern part of Congo. Is there a hydroelectric plant at Victoria Falls? Off topic. What's the correct name? All right, so Victoria, yeah, Tujina hydroelectric power plant. We even have one in Karuma. The recent one, power plant in Uganda. The recent one was built in a place called Karuma, and Victoria Falls. I think it was one of the first power station which has a hydroelectric power plant, but in Ebera on Zambezi River. But that one is called the Owen Falls Dam. The one in Uganda and Victoria Falls is in Zambia. I think. The one in Uganda is called the Owen Falls Dam, and they have constructed another that is called the Karuma Falls. Karuma Dam. Victoria Falls is not in Uganda, but of course it has a power plant in, of course, Zambia. The ones in Uganda, the ones in Uganda, we have Owen Falls Dam, we have Karuma Falls Dam. I think we Twinanga power plants is that. Hmm? Are you sure? Twinao, yes, yes, we have Isimba. These are all around. We have Isimba, we have Bujagali, we have Karuma, we have I think we have more than one. Namamve, we have Agibinka, we have Nyangaki, we have a lot of power, Kira power plants. I think we have, for the correction, it's okay, Duba. We have, of course, we have Victoria Lake Victoria. I guess that's why you're confusing the two. We have apparently like 6 to 7 power plants in Uganda. Uganda has falls that enable the turbines to turn and produce electricity, so which enables Uganda to have at least more than enough power plants. So, like I mentioned, like apparently like 6 power plants that are even producing. So United Kingdom knew that it was very important for it to have at least take the contract of running Uganda's electricity. Very crazy, very crazy. There are some places that have electricity, hmm? And there are still even some remote areas that don't have electricity. Imagine we live in a country having all these power plants, but we don't have electricity. Please. Now, looking at of course, the poverty and income equality, we also have an issue of corruption. I laugh whenever because this has become our a daily thing that no longer surprises me. And like I always told you guys, corruption in Africa is something that has been made normal, that people are no longer afraid, people no longer feel touched. To the point that each time you are moving out of your house, you should at least have a little money in case things don't go right. That means that we have those who take corruption and those who give corruption. Both are comfortable about that. The moment you don't give in, probably you will not have access to services and stuff. More especially if at all you are hoping for a better thing like jobs, services like medical care and stuff like that. You understand? So corruption itself has played a very, very huge role. It's widespread and undermines economic growth by diverting resources away from essential services and discouraging investment. Nobody would wish to invest in a society which has a rapid corruption rate, because at the end of the day they feel like they are not secure enough to, of course, run business within those localities. When you start asking yourself, yes, I know people always pinpoint Africa as one of the corrupt places in the world, but corruption is worldwide. Apparently, there is even corruption in the US. I mean, maybe I don't know how it runs. Jubjaba, Indigo, how do you guys experience corruption over there? Is it as cheap as it is here, or is your corruption on another level? Because here, even the cheapest thing, the corruption here is extreme, that I feel like is even at the cheapest, slightest things, people are taking corruption, even at things that don't make sense. You understand? So I don't know how corruption is experienced within the Black communities in the United States and other foreign countries that are having Black people living in them. I'm waiting to read Indigo and Jeep Jabber's comment of how do you guys experience corruption. And then from those comments, of course, we shall have Innocent to have a little something to say. Jujaba said we learned corruption from the US. All right. Indigo says America, Russia, China, and others are all controlling their own affairs. However, Africa let others control their affairs. I agree with that. Sadly, painfully, yes, Indigo. I agree with you on that. Innocent. Say something.
It's on all levels here.
It's on all levels. Mhm. Mhm.
Um, uh, Going back to the topic, the major problem of Africa's economy. We know that Africa's economy, um, uh, we have examples of countries, America's strict policies are in place, and that's why we do have the ability to fight, but you have to read and know the laws.
Mm, okay.
So, going back to what is the major problem of Africa's economy today? Um, uh, when we are in school, Africa, everyone gets advantage of African countries. These are the people that call African countries developing countries.
Mm,
Developing countries. They are the same people that milk Africa day and night. There are people that have supported governments that have drained African resources that can support African economies. Uh, when we study, for those that are in school, for those that are in school, um, students are taught in African schools that the major problems of African economy, they will tell you climate, they will talk about they will talk about uh, low poverty rates among people. We talked about income inequalities. Um, First of all, the education system we have in Africa contributes much to Africa's decline in economy, or
mm,
it is also threat to Africa's economy, the education system itself.
mm,
Whatever is done on African soils today is controlled by Western education system we have in Africa. The Western education system we have in Africa makes someone to be actually the colonial education system, the curriculum we have in Africa makes a student, makes someone to be a job seeker. So if someone doesn't have a skill, someone has to first, you study, you spend a lot of time in school, even after school, after getting what you think that can enable you to do something in life, something that can earn you something in life, you have to look for limited jobs because there are few jobs that are created for this population that has attained education. I'm not against education, But we know that, I know all African people know this, that all those people that are doing good in economic life, in economic system, in their respective African countries, these people have not attained any education. The rich people, these people we call the people that have created income inequality, the rich, these are the people that have not gone to universities, these are people that have not attained any, these people have not seen any blackboard before, they have not gone to any school before. These are the people that are creating employment opportunities to people that have gone to school. Why? The education system we have provides someone, makes someone to be looking for a job, but it doesn't give you a skill to start your own work, to start your own a job. And this has made very many people to stay unemployed for good. The system works together on all levels to keep us down through high inflation and less choice. Yeah. Of course, Jib Jabal, there will be high inflation rates in African countries uh, because of these people that are in population. It is a small group of people that are in population with lots of money. So, of course, the goods have to high. That's why African countries inflation is too much because of that gap, that huge gap. Because money is within few people. Robert Williams says Black American are in shit shape too. It's always about education where you find even that is controlled. You get a degree and find out it's not worth shit. Yeah, this is true. African parents have been Robert Williams. African parents have been convinced over time that for to improve their standards of living, they have to educate their children. They have to educate their kids. But at the end of all of it, spending a lot of time in school, spending a lot of time in school, you find out that someone comes out of school and has just actually become more stupid. This is a person that specializes employment opportunities. Someone will tell you, I can't do this stuff because I'm educated. I can't do this stuff because I'm educated. And these people that have not gone through the education system, that's why they have got that they have it has paved them way to become rich. They are getting advantage of these people that are swimming into the colonial education system that we are having today. Africa today doesn't need people who are job seekers. It doesn't need people that require white collar jobs for someone to sit there from morning to evening, because um, we have needs. We need carpenters, we need constructors, because that is how Africa, that's what Africa needs. Africa needs that. Africa needs constructors. Africa needs doctors that have skills. Africa needs people that are too much into skilling. But people come out of school when they cannot do shit well. The colonized education system needs to be abolished out of Africa immediately. Why is it Africa? Why is it in Africa? It is only there to control the minds. Yeah, this is Indigo saying this. It is there in Africa to control the minds
Other people.
of the people.
Okay.
This is true. Uh, there is nothing wrong with the system. It works the way the Muzungu created it. Salute Detective Drop and Set to Drop Robert Williams.
Robert Williams, thank you so much for joining us and salute.
Mm. In Uganda, do banks invest in little guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is true.
Mhm.
So, um, uh, in addition to education system that we have in Africa, so one day you can come out and you say something like the discussions we normally have here. You'll find out that students or people that are direct from school, that have fresh minds from school, they will look at what as in whatever you're talking is not real, because they are following a designed system that is in school, that schools are teaching. I tell you that very many scholars, very many teachers in schools, our college schools, high schools, these teachers, they will tell you different things about about the causes of economic declines in Africa. Um, there are things that we learn in school that don't apply to present day life in Africa. The Africa we're having today is not the Africa that when you used to have the Bazungu controlling us directly here. But they left this education system here to still exist in African minds. Someone can actually debate you out over an issue referring to education. Someone will refer you to education, someone will refer you to fake books that are providing education system we're having here in Africa. Um, we had I learned about economics. Western schools primarily are for social indoctrination, not enlightenment. Together,
Mm.
together.
Yes. I think I'm sorry to add a little bit on what you're saying. Africa itself needs job creators. It needs young entrepreneurs who create jobs
And business.
and businesses for
Yeah.
others. Because if I decide to create employment, or if I decide to start up a business, I cannot run this alone. That means at the end of the day, I would employ INNOSSETU to get other people with whom we shall, of course, work hand in hand. And as the business goes on growing, that means it increases the space for employing other people, and from top to bottom. And this is why even we have a lot of people out there looking for jobs, because we are job seekers rather than job creators. The education system that we experience here in Africa does not give us the potential. I was last time I was like telling you guys, me and Innocent, we were supposed to be having our internship the January, this January, and we most of the internships that are scheduled, they're supposed to be like on TV. Though we had some prominent people on TV, like everyone is like, why don't you go over there? I mean, being a celebrity, probably, maybe people feed on that. But we said we can, because the next time you go to these TVs, you're going to be the one bringing coffee to the people working over there. You're going to be the one running errands at times, because this is what it really happens. But at times when we go to a place, maybe everyone is trying to overlook, but again, attain a skill from there. You want to attain how you can edit movies, how you're going to do your documentaries, how you're going to combine the sounds and the and the photos, the videos, balancing sound and stuff like that. And you cannot get that when you go to such a smart place. Apparently, people are supposed to follow their schedules, and what we usually see over there is what is different. You understand? So we are telling our colleagues from school that probably we may not attain that kind of internship. We are going to look for a more practical place, though it may not be as prominent as the television. Some other people looked at it like, you need to be on this television so that you can be exposed and stuff like that. I don't see me wanting to be exposed on a television, because my vision is not about me being a celebrity who is out there looking for job or who is being employed by somebody. but having the potential of creating something of my own, of creating an agency that is in my own, me deciding when I should close and when I shouldn't close, me deciding to have time for me and probably my future family and stuff like that. But these are the challenges that we always look at. We don't know how many people are out there looking to work on the very places you're going to. We the education system does not give us the practical part. You study theory for apparently something like 12 years. You are still writing about things. You even study bullshit. You even study about Napoleon. You study about stuff that doesn't even help you. You even don't know what happens in Kenya. School doesn't teach you what is happening in Nigeria. You even don't know what happened in South Africa. You are studying about Napoleon. You are studying about Hitler. You don't know what, of course, happened in Congo. You don't get to learn what King Leopold did in Congo. You don't get to learn what the Belgians did in Rwanda. You don't get to learn all things. You are studying about things that can never help you as an African person. And this is the system. When you decide to go to school, at times even the lessons are drafted by the higher institution councils, the councils of higher institution. You understand? So they decide, all right, if you are going to do this, if you are going to have people do this, we don't want to see journalists learning political science. Now that's America deciding for Uganda. They even decide, all right, we don't want to see people study investigators. We don't want to see the practical of this. They'll categorize that as it is putting your life at risk and stuff that forward. But we have potential of doing that practically if at all you want to. And people are not guided to do this. I'm sorry to say. And I think that's why in the end we shall have a lot of people are trying to get jobs where there are no jobs because they cannot, create jobs of their own. Always be true to yourself. Networking is essential too. Internship can get you into a career. America is a plantation. I was born on and growing up, I was taught hardly anything about my people and my true history. I'm sorry, Indigo. I'm sorry. So what's unbelievable? What's the cartoon? So we learn then and today on our own. I'm glad that you're learning, Indigo. I'm glad. Networking is essential too. Internship can get you into a career. Yes, yes, Jib Jabba. It can get you into a career, but how good is that career? So let me ask, how good is that career? Is it able to sustain you? Is that career going to take you places that you want to go? Because I think everyone has their own dream. It is a different thing for me to be a brand. You are giving me a car to drive, that a car I'm not even owning. And the moment I say I'm letting go that job, I have to give you the car keys. I want to own my own car, but anytime I'm not giving the keys back to somebody. Anyway, but that is it. And then you cannot even be sure that they're going to retain you or something. Okay, what do you get?
So, when we talk about Africans, U.S. Black history, Lincroft Reed's lives, Rosa wouldn't get up, and Martin had a dream. That's all
I
I
learned
learned
in
in
school.
school.
We don't know nursing, so my
So,
liver trade.
um, when when we look into Africans or Ugandans in particular being unemployed, it is true people it's true people are people are not employed. People don't have jobs. This is true. But these are the same people that have gone through the education system and don't have skills. So even when maybe the company, or maybe for your father or for your who uncle, there is no someone can help someone just because of the education system, because we don't have skills, we don't have trainings of what we need in our daily lives. Africa, uh, Africa is normally referred to as like our backbone is agriculture. You know, Africans, the agriculturalists. But you will find out that in very many African schools, they don't teach these concepts. And if any is taught, they teach theories. They will never teach practicals. And when it comes to practicals, the entire system is corrupt. The entire education system is corrupt. Students won't be taught these skills and they will have no skills. They will have no skills. Jib has been talking about that. He studied about the U.S. Black history. He studied about was the Lincoln freed of slaves. Rosa wouldn't get up, and Martin had a dream. That is what he studied. Jib, be the captain of the ship you own, then you can dock in any port. Yeah. Jib, it is something that is not easy, I may say, to end this entire system, this colonial curriculum education system that we are having today in African countries. Because, of course, the presidents um, in African countries, these are people that are supported, these are people that are guided, these are people that are given security from the former colonial masters. So all these people they want in Africa is to control the mind of Africans. The economy of African people to be controlled is through education system. When we look at people, even when someone comes out and maybe is doing agriculture to sell out something to get some money, he will sell to these so-called rich people that control the economy. Someone may be having a lot of coffee, but will end up selling this coffee to these people that are creating this gap in the economy. These people that are creating disparities in the economy, they will sell up. Someone will set up this. Someone will set up the products. All the products has toiled. Will sell up these products to someone that is well off, and these people are going to pick these products from poor people at low prices. How are people going to get rich? How are people going to get into the middle income system, the middle income status? There is no way people are going to go into that. Say to nepotism is nepotism is how many Muzungus of a higher income group get ahead. Indigo says that was Jib Jabba. Indigo says that skill training was taken out of the schools years ago. They don't want our children to have skills because that would give them too much independence.
Mm, mm. Yes, 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 yes. Mm. I agree. Okitegera. That means olina right okudecidinga. No one will even able to
Mm.
control you.
And the funniest thing about the education system in African countries that even the few, even the few vocational schools, the few training schools that train skills, these people teach theories. These people teach theories, things that are not relevant to what, to what students, to what people need in their daily lives to earn a living. I know the vocational schools here in Uganda, but when someone comes out of the school, the end of the course, when someone can't do anything about any skill, the thing is corrupted.
Mhm.
The entire thing is corrupted. And you'll find in African countries, students, kids, what people, they're getting good grades, but with bad skills.
Like I told you last time, you will ask someone about a computer and they apparently know everything. They know that. They know um, what the keyboard does, what the mouse does, what the monitor does, the softwares, the components that, of course, make up a computer, how to, all the stuff. But when you bring one of the items, when they don't really know, you be like, you say, what's this? They cannot tell you that that's a keyboard. And it's something they've been talking about. It's something that you'll ask somebody, how about this? And say, I don't know that. When they theoretically know it, um, crazy. But that's the system. That's the system. That's why we have not had, strong doctors who are able to carry out big surgeries. They know what to do, but they have never practically done that before. Maybe because we don't have enough equipment. They're not rich enough to buy equipment to even find a theater that is fully equipped. It's either funded by a Mzungu or a Mzungu owns part of it, or it's an expensive place. So if at all people are studying to be surgeons, I think that schools should be having theaters. I think that school itself should be sitting in a big hospitals where they ought to see practical things. If it's only you're gonna operate on somebody, students should be able. There was one place I know here. The school sits in the hospital. As you enter the hospital gate is where the schools are found, the dormitories. And every time in the evening, these children come in the hospital to take care for the sick, the students who are learning this medical profession. They come to take care, they go to the theaters, they visit. We need more of this. And that school, I know it produces good doctors, good nurses, good surgeons, because they, from day one of their school, they have experienced this. They have seen what goes on. Unlike some other, can you imagine? Makere in health is so messed up, but they don't have this kind of things. The only time students go to the hospital is when they are going to do their internship. Well, lucky enough to carried, what abantu tebakayingira.
If you don't control distribute a product will never reach the market or the idea, all product will be taken. Mm. Is there a field of study among your youth? Is there a choice?
People have choices. People have choices because as you go to as at the early stages of education, we don't decide what to do. Me, I told you guys I wanted to be a lawyer for my reasons, and I grew up wanting to be that. Unfortunately, it was very expensive for me to study law, and so I went for this. But people have choices, more especially in the higher institutions. People have choices, but we don't have career guidance. We don't have the right career guidance. People attend these high institutions because probably they have grown up fancying somebody. You grew up, you are watching someone do something and you just want to be that. You are not sure if whatever you want to do is the best option. You are even not sure if you are capable enough. So I think the only thing we lack is career guidance. Most of the youth here, we are not guided on what to do and what we should focus on, what we should base on as we make the choices of these courses that, of course, we want to pursue. That's crazy. Here we have teaching hospitals in some cities, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my area is big in this field. Yeah, we do have some. We do have some, but most of them just teach theories and people just go for practical course later on. But I've seen some good places that have hospitals, and there is in Zambia nursing. They have a hospital which is in Zambia Hospital. It is one of the big hospitals here. Then there is that Lacho, there is Lacho Medical School, which also has Lacho Hospital, one of the biggest hospitals. Mm, I don't know about Ginger, but I also know of Mango Nursing School. I think then there is Molago. Molago Taina Molago Taina Gundia Somesa. It has. But as they're having other people don't get the chance to, of course, have that practical arena where they should practically do things. And I think nze ndaba bannansi ate bo bakola nnyo, bali so professional okusinga n'abasawo because theirs is very practical. We have so many young scholars. Mhm. Mm. Ogenda kulya ku sweet.
So,
Sooner or later, Miss Mugabe.
so the education system, very many parents in African countries, they would desire to educate their kids, they would desire to educate their children, they would desire their children to have a kind of life. There is a kind of life they would desire their kids to be. But things become worse. But when a parent takes a kid to kindergarten up to university, invests a lot of money in this kid, hoping for better after the kid has come out of school, after those very many years, but without a skill. But rather, this kid comes back and becomes a parasite to a parent, becomes he depends or she depends on the same parent, and parents, they normally expect better after school, after graduation. But again, you find out that kids are going back to their parents to suck money, to ask them money for lunch, to ask them money for to do their what, their daily day-to-day life, just because of the education system. How is our economy going to of course
Yeah. Do you remember this?
Yet Pittsburgh has one of the lowest mortality rates for black births. Racism in healthcare is huge in the US. So, do you have a petty roster in the studio. Nagamba sigenda kuddamu kulya sweet olikuba I was feeling bad with it.
I think it was because of the minute maid. Okay.
Petty roster. Jibija batewali
They have eaten most of them on Christmas. But anyway, Satu, you remember that young guy who called on radio? He called one of the radio presenters. Actually, there's that program where people call and you are connected with someone if you want to tell them stuff and whatever. So the guy, that little boy called and he asked the presenter that he should tell the dad that for him he doesn't want to go to school. He wants the dad should buy him a motorbike, and he becomes a border because he has seen even other people educated, they are suffering in his village. He's like, tell my father I don't want to go to school. He should not, instead of wasting this money, he should buy me a border, and I start to ride a border. And there all you are seeing. Did he say 12? So education has lost value because people have not seen educated people succeed in life. So you cannot tell anybody in Africa that education, we used to say that education is the answer to development. We used to sing that when we were in grade two. But now education has disappointed us.
And the education system, what what it has provided to African to among African people is competition. Now students are too much into competition for grades rather than for skills in schools.
No.
You'll find out that people are fighting so much for marks. People are putting in almost everything to get marks rather than skill. That it is the same thing I was talking about. That someone may be with good grades but with bad skills. How can someone hire you to do something for him or her when you don't have a skill? When you can't do anything with anything? Smart government plans their economy and anticipate future employment trends, then they can guide the youth with employment choices. That comment is from G. Jabba.
I do agree with that. But here we have unplanned economy. First of all, we have huge debts that is hindering. We have given investors the right to own apparently everything. It is very hard for us to have that economical strength. It is a little bit different, I think. Maybe I don't know. It is very different from. It's very different when it comes to the black communities outside Africa. I think you, since your government is not on normal land, apart from when, of course, Gaddafi was, America was owing Gaddafi some money and they refused to pay back. But here it is very crazy that we are in debt. And now we are seeing the situation of China wanting to apparently give up normal loans to African countries. And at the end, they want to invest. There is a video I've been watching on TikTok when we were sleeping. Um, some Ugandan young girls. They're beautiful. They were fighting over some man, and only to check this was a Chinese investor. And I saw this Chinese. You saw that Chinese who was fighting on TikTok. Ugandan what stop. She was talking. Um, he was talking his crazy English. Um, so I realized from what this woman was saying, like they have a circle. They have a circle of Ugandan women. Maybe they have, maybe it's an organization or what, I don't know. They know each other. They know the women who are married to the Chinese. It is a circle. They have that small society. I had not realized this until I saw that video. But according to what she was saying, they knew each other. They have their WhatsApp group. They have where they usually meet. And basically, these people don't let them be out there. These women didn't know. Me, I feel like they don't know that the Chinese are using them to expand their business, because each of these women owns a Chinese clothes outlet. Shageda owns a Chinese clothes outlet. And in the name, I'm working together with my husband. And at the end, you count the money and it goes on the Chinese man's bank account. And because this man married you, you cannot even do something back. You are working for the future. So from what this woman was saying, I realized there is a technique these people are using. Probably they don't trust that if we use this lady, they may cheat us. So go ahead, marry her. Marry her. When you marry her, um, put her in that business. Let her run that business. So she's going to be speaking the local language. At the end of the day, she feels like I'm a wife. You know, the Chinese man loves me. We are doing business together. And at the end of the day, the man is like, calculate the money. How much has remained, babe? Take it to my bank and save it. We are saving for our child. And then what happens when they are done with them? They jump to another woman. Jibjaba is saying that Chinese pass around. What the? Yeah, yeah. So I didn't know apparently that Chinese have that society. They have created their own Chinese society where they marry Ugandan women and they put them in their shops, in their wholesale shops, from which other Ugandans come and purchase at a wholesale. They purchase clothes, basically the Chinese clothes. So it's actually crazy. So they are expanding. They are getting free labor because as you marry this Ugandan woman, you're not going to pay her for sitting in your show. Apart from maybe her bossing around like I'm having a Chinese man, maybe and the sexual advances that maybe she will be earning from that. But they're using this as one trusted employment because she's not going to steal, she's not going to cheat. She thinks you are her husband. She's working wholeheartedly. This is our business. I mean, two, you're not going to pay her a salary because you're not going to pay your wife for working in your own business. At the end of the day, the money she works is going to your account, and she confidently takes that money to your account because I mean, we are saving our money in our account, in our bank. And I didn't know that Chinese are using this technique now. And that's why they keep these ladies together. They don't allow them to mingle with others. Evening from work, you go and meet your other fellow black women who are married to Chinese with their Chinese men. You're having that small society in Uganda. Crazy, yeah. But these people are hitting us left and right. Their heads are boiling, and we are so adamant and not seeing what's actually going on. So that made me understand that hmm, how cheap people have become. A Ugandan front person to do business It's an old scam. Yeah, yeah, Jabba. Yeah, they do that. Even these businesses, I think even sometimes in some places that the women, they register the women because they don't want to pay that extra license that investors pay, because when you are a foreigner there is that extra money that you add. And if at all you are renting or foreigner, more especially if you're Chinese, you don't pay the same with the local people, so they don't want to pay that extra. And they register things in those women's name, and the women, I think they are in love or whatever bullshit. They are being exploited in all angles. Yeah.
Um, in addition, in the US, other groups will do the same in black neighborhoods and have blackface out front. So, the other thing that has made, of course, African economies uh, to be down, even the Nigeria, even the South African economies, they say that that they are the economies that are doing good. We as people are so busy praising religion, eyes wide open.
Mm.
Even the economies they say that are increasing, that are developing so fast in Africa, the Nigeria, the South African economies, I'm quite sure these economies, the black people, the native people, they are not testifying. They're not, they don't have that taste of a developing economy. They don't feel that taste, I know, in those countries. But instead, the eyes wide shut. I'm
I
looking for a
do.
black credit
How will the
union,
eyes
but
be white
maybe
and they are shut? I have got your emphasis. Crazy. But yeah, I think religion has so very much overclouded our thinking and judgment.
so I was talking about that even those economies that we look into Africa, we look into South Africa, Nigeria, and other African economies that pretend to be growing so fast, developing so fast. Native Nigerians, native South Africans, they are not testifying. They don't have that taste for a growing or developing economy.
Mm.
This thing is among few individuals in different phases. Very many African presidents, African political leaders, they're investing a lot uh, in their countries and outside their countries, but in different phases. Someone may pick up someone and becomes, they normally call it cross partnership. They make that cooperation that
Mm.
is forged. You pretend you stand out and say this property, these businesses are mine. But in reality, when they look at someone who owns stuff,
Mm.
nga tasobola na kwebezaawo. We have seen very many people in Uganda that are owning businesses of different people. These people inspect these businesses at night.
Mm.
They inspect these businesses at night. So this is Africa. So people who actually need help, people who actually need to testify these developments, they are not engaging in such activities. People are just suffering. People can't support themselves.
The
People,
biggest percentage of even Nigerians in Jala. Chibalina na mbele. They can't even afford food. They can't even afford that thing. And then the White House in Bali, one of the developed countries, maybe if they are measuring that according to the infrastructure, the roads, but I think the standards of living are also very vital. So we should look at the standards of living and how people are able to afford their life. And as we are judging this, I think that is something that they have neglected a lot. Most of people cannot even afford a normal life. They can't afford a 3 square meal, not because there is no food, but because it's expensive. They can't afford it. So yeah, we need to see Nigerians coming up themselves and testifying, not because of big rich Nigerians saying so who are owning like 10 oil wells and stuff and gas companies. We want to look at the the local people and the Omutua Wansi. Sorry.
So that is what happens in actually in almost all African countries. The other thing is um, when you look into what we call economic system among African people, it is so different from what must be actually focused on in terms of actually improving people's way of standards, improving people's way, actually the costs of living or among people. We have minerals in Africa, but you will never and never hear this anywhere or let it be amongst political leaders when they are preaching out. Uh, you let it be in books, in African books, that in schools, they will not bring out that concept of mineral resources becoming a source of income to African people to support their lives. That is not provided in African countries. Rather, toggalawo toggalawo oba tebasobola kusirika babireke toggalawo. So you will find out that we don't have that. For me, actually, um, it is after researching and actually researching there I knew that we have gold in Uganda. I was so surprised. I grew up knowing that all these minerals, things like gold, I used to see in films. I thought that these are things that I got from the Western world, not in Africa. The day I realized that we have gold in Uganda, I was so surprised because I grew up actually not knowing the education system. The people around me did not give that chance to me to learn these things. I wasn't given that chance to learn about
You
what
didn't know.
what is
They
in
were
my
as
country.
green as you
Mm.
were.
I just grew up knowing that, of course, for you to get rich, you have to grow coffee. Coffee is so much. That's why actually, even up to now, in my locality, in my village, very many people grow coffee. But if you look around and you look for people that have food crops, there are few people, and people are suffering from actually from hunger. People don't have food, but they are focusing on these cash crops. That is what the education system has provided. They will keep on making some areas, some regions in different African countries. They keep them making them false, lying them about that those regions they are good for different cash crops differently.
Mm.
These people divided these cash crops in different areas, in different regions of the country. They will tell you that this place is good for this cash crop, this place, but this is not true. This is just a planned thing. This is not true. People are just diverting away from growing food crops focusing on cash crops that can't even.
And then at the end of the day, the cash crops are priced by them. They decide the price. You grow these cash crops, but they decide at which price they are buying.
Of
So
course,
whether I refuse or not, you ought to sell at the price they decide for you.
of course, when you
But again,
grow,
and a bit.
what can't domain that
Because
billion.
if you refuse, then you cannot eat them. For them, they decide we are buying at cheap price. If we are buying at this price, if you refuse, it is not something that you will decide to take back home and people eat.
It doesn't make any sense to be having that hectares of coffee. You sell coffee to the rich people because, of course, the rich people, they are the people that govern everything in a country. This is a small group of people that connects to those people outside because an average African doesn't have those connections, that network to the Western world. Because at the end of all this, these cash crops are sold out. They are sold out. So there is no way, it doesn't make sense for you to be having over 30 hectares of land and you're having coffee on that land, and after selling that coffee you go to the market to buy food yet at the same land. Galawo bagambe basirike batusaasire tugenda kumaliriza tugende tubaviire ewaabwe. Nigerian togalawo 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 batuyambe buyambi. Tetugenda ssulawo. It doesn't make sense to put down not only for organ. So we are going to work for a few hours and go. Again.
Comments zizo.
So, Jibjaba says Nigerian politicians are more concerned with what side they dent their careful on instead of the people's needs. Thank you for explaining the truth. Nigeria should be visibly wealthy, like Qatar, Dubai, and of course Saudi Arabia. That is Jibjaba still. Unveiling. Alright. And cash crops without rotation deplete the soil. Say corn, sorghum, yeah.
Sorry. Soya bean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The colonizers and colonized power players, with all due respect, are mostly
Yeah.
Christians.
Yeah. Ah, yeah,
Mm.
like yesterday that I do driving this back to like what we spoke about yesterday, where you say that the family school, the family structure in Africa was attacked by the Christian communities. They decided to construct those single schools. They don't teach mixed children. If they are boys alone. If they are girls alone. And they don't teach about values, family values and stuff in those schools. So these people have played a very big role for sure. They are the power players within Africa. And yes, I do agree with you, Indigo.
Okay. All right. So the thing of cash crop
tugenda kuba
growing,
ssatu bbiri.
the thing of cash crop growing in African countries, it is so rampant. People focus so much on cash crops. People have been convinced over years that you can attain wealth when you're dealing in cash crop growing.
Mm,
But this is neglecting food crops. There is no way an economy is going to grow
mm,
when we are focusing on cash crops. We are just the people that are benefiting in this. They are the rich people. Yet they are the local poor people that grow these cash crops.
mm,
The rich people have their businesses. They just sit there to wait for ready products
mm,
for export.
mm,
Naye kati g'osanga g'oli eyo mu kyalo gwafokasinga mmwanyi, kola you put a lot of energies into this, but at the end you're not getting because ne mmwanyi, let it be mmwanyi or other cash crops, they are
mm,
bought at low prices. Ate even these rich people too, they sell them to international markets, but it is the muzungu, they are the European people that have to decide, that have to set a price for these products, for these cash crops.
mm,
They set prices. Bagamba, oba mutuguza oba temwagala mubireke.
mm.
So it is the decision lies in their hands.
So as we also look at, of course, the kind of product that we decide, just like Innosetu described as agriculture being one of the economical background of Africa, or being the backbone of Africa. That means Africa's strength lie on agriculture at a certain degree. But the way we have addressed agriculture, like Innocent is saying, people have invested a lot on cash crops, yet cash crops, the products that come from cash crop are not necessities. These are not things that people can do away without. These are not things that if you don't consume them, you're going to probably have issues with your health. You can decide not to take coffee and you're fine. You can decide not to take Nescafe and you're good. You can decide not to take tea and you're fine. We have focused on the demand of, I don't know even how many African family consume coffee, kawa. I'm even not sure how many African family consume all these cash crops that we are having, other
So for
products.
a long time, I've seen very many people growing coffee, but you will find out that we have even different kinds of tea.
Mm,
Yet even coffee doesn't apply.
mm,
Yet we grow coffee more than even tea.
mm.
Like for the case of a case in point in Uganda, we grow a lot of coffee, but you'll find out that few people
But it is
now,
there in our
yeah,
side,
tea is much,
especially the super from our area. There's
tea
too
is
much
much,
tea. People grow a lot of tea and
tea is
cocoa
much.
bush.
Naye kati ku tea ne coffee kye kisinga ebbeeyi.
So, mukugula
Mm.
waneno.
International markets, because these cash crops focus international market.
I don't know.
I think coffee.
Anti muti bajjamu ne gundi green tea, very expensive remedy. Kambuuzabuuza.
But era byonna gye biggweera nga nze nalwawo okulaba, we used to have the soya kind of tea that is mixed with coffee, but it's not too much like we grow it here.
Mm,
It's not too much, and that is how corrupt our governments are. That is how corrupt our economic system is.
Mm. In your home area, do you have people who plant cocoa?
Few, few, few. It's not too much, but
I
few.
I think they concentrated a lot with
I'd
the
say, mm,
our area because it's like every household has cocoa plants. They have like coffee, like you say, and usually you will find mix in a tree of cocoa. There is coffee. So in the farm where there is cocoa plants, there is also coffee. And that tea is usually owned by private sectors. I think it takes a lot to grow tea, so it is very hard to find the tea growing at a local in local areas that this tea is owned. Though someone may own it, but it may not be at a very large scale, just like coffee. And I think that's why most people have not solemnly owned the tea plantations. Rather, the plantations that have been owned by, you know, big companies like sugarcane as well. People can plant sugar canes, but the biggest big land scale, the big plantations of sugar canes are owned by some companies, though some big individuals also decide. When they gave sugar cane, when they allowed individuals to start growing sugar cane, a lot of people started focusing on sugarcane, and there is what sugarcanes do to the soil. And it is now that people have, because people are now getting sensitized, and now they are agreeing to plant more of traditional foods than these other things that always people of course people concentrate on. And I think for us, our kind of system, everything changed the moment the colonizers stepped here. They started dictating everything, and it still exists until now. We don't focus on what we need as a nation, as a continent. We are still out there trying to outcompete others. Why is it important for you to plant coffee for the Americans or to consume? Why is it important for you to plant coffee for the British to consume? Why is it not important for you to plant things that your people are going to consume? And this is why we are having issues of, hunger, like you said, because we are concentrating on other people's needs rather than our own needs. Because and then we know most of the things we do here are sanctioned. For example, as you plant this coffee, there is a price sanction on this coffee that they decided that every coffee is going to be bought at this price. Whether the difficulties and everything, you still have to sell coffee at that price. Now, price sanctions on African goods, of course, we know that they take various forms. They are influenced by international trade dynamics, economic policies, and geopolitical considerations. And when it comes to geopolitical, international dynamics and economic trade, we know that usually the sanctions that are put on the prices of commodities in Africa have never been in favor of the Africans themselves. We know that the trade barriers, we have not been given the liberty uh, of us freely trading with one another. Because before even we make a choice of deciding, we have been seen in different umbrellas or small organizations that we think are owned by us. Recently, we have seen ECOWAS, and we all know how ECOWAS has been involved in the situation in Niger and the Western countries that have been trying to, of course, start up coups. From nowhere, ECOWAS came in the picture and it was condemning these people from standing out, these people trying to rebel against the French power towards their country. Now, if at all ECOWAS belongs to the African, why is it important that French still, of course, gets hold of these countries that are trying to break free? We have seen these organizations that have black people in disguise. Going back to the comment Ajib Jabba said that there are those big people who are at the front. When we look at ECOWAS, the first thing that comes into our mind is, of course, ECOWAS, we see black people involved, and the president, of course, right now of ECOWAS is the president of Nigeria. So, if at all we see a Nigerian president leading these, we are going to be so 100% sure that, all right, since Bamujano in Nigeria, our Jubilicho, yeah, man. He's the head. We expect to see Africans' voices, but simply because these people know, as we see the Nigerian president Tinubu leading this organization, there are also stronger powers that are right behind Tinubu. Now, how does the price sanction affect the Africans? um, we get these price sanctions that of course come from the major markets that we think are markets that are created to support our trade, international, both international and local, at a local level and continental. We expect to see all the things working in favor of the black communities and the black organizations, but we don't realize that these people are just puppets. These organizations that were created all in the name of Africa coming together are just organizations that are used to put laws, to create laws and put sanctions on an African's trade. It is very hard for you to decide and say, as a country, I'm deciding that I'm going to produce watermelons. If you're under such kind of organizations, they decide which kind of thing you're going to produce. They will say, all right, Nigeria, we want you to produce this because we have ready market for you from the US. They'll decide, say, Uganda, we want you to produce this. And if you produce something else, we are not buying that. For us, we want you to produce this. And if you are producing that, each we shall measure in grams. Each amount of this gram we shall pay it, or we shall buy it at this kind of price. And then the head dealers are the ones who will, of course, take these products to the international markets, or they're the ones who take these products outside Africa. Why do we have sanctions on our commodities, the tariffs that are extremely not favoring both the farmers and the traders who are dealing in these things? But at the end, Africa does not put sanctions on. If America decides to say, I'm going to sell these commodities in Africa, you don't decide. You cannot wake up and say, America, since you want to produce to bring that shit over here, we are buying it at this price. No, America decides their price. Why is it that Africans don't decide the prices at which they are selling stuff? In one way or the other, they will always find a way around of either denying you that right, of either or are trying to, of course, show you that your products are not of quality. And I think the price of production was also made very expensive. The price of production in Africa is extremely expensive. Yet Africa has almost every material that is needed to, of course, be able to be a producer. We have labor, we have the land, we have the manpower, we have, maybe we don't have capital. Do we have capital?
Capital.
But we
How can
also
we?
have raw material.
have raw materials. Capital can be there, but if the government has not international cartel, if the government the policies as it has brought don't actually support the people, they are not intended for the people, but just for corruption and embezzlement. We have seen very many programs in Uganda focusing um, on elevating people, like to of course fight poverty among people in Uganda. But these are people that lob money from the government. They call it lobbying, but it's corruption. They are corrupted. They lob a lot of money from the government, invest in these programs, but people don't get the services. People don't get money. We have had a lot and a lot of programs. This is not happening in Uganda only, because almost all African countries they are going through this. But balekawo ezo sente simanya myoga simanya fucking you binge a lot of programs just to fight poverty among people, but they lob a lot of money, but one of the last person who needs that money doesn't get that money.
It's kind crazy. If at all Chinese can come to Uganda and start up textile companies, can't the government give out loans to all these young children
No, they support
and
rich people.
start?
They support rich people. Like I say that for them they are the same people. They do cooperations, cross partnership. Like you be like INNOSSETU, like you're somewhere, they give you money, you pretend as if you're the owner of that company, but yet it is the same person.
Owning the other and all the
Yeah, it is
companies
the
are
same
found.
person. It is the same person. There is no way they can give you money. They rather give the same person that money, but in a different picture.
What kind of nonsense?
That's what they do. You oyinza okwekanga that in very many African countries you find like the country has abagagga abali real, what they call rich people, the owners of the assets, the property, the money. People have huge
Not
amounts of
adding
money.
to 10.
Yeah, nga balinganga bataano, like six.
But when they are running apparently every big organization,
Kitegeera. Even where they don't have influence, they become partners. They get shares from those organizations. You may look at Chinese industries here in Uganda as they are increasing so much. You find here an industry for the Chinese. These Chinese actually they are surviving.
they are survivors.
They're surviving in Uganda. Reason why these people, the initiators of the entire system of this, um, they normally have shares with these people.
They are benefiting from the
Eh,
existence of the Chinese.
yeah, and the Chinese, the profits they get from these industries, from these businesses, they take money directly to their countries. Kati ensi ebigenda kula ddi? There is no way.
Because if at all they are not benefiting, I'm wondering why these people have access to a lot of things.
Yeah.
That means there is someone who is benefiting
Mm,
from this. There's someone who is lobbying for them.
mm.
Yeah.
That's why they're having that big survival in Uganda and in very many other African countries. China as a government, China as a government, uh, it provides like those loans, those fake unnecessary loans to African countries. It comes as a government, like they construct a road, they bring Chinese, but these industries we see in Uganda, these Chinese industries, they are owned by individual Chinese. It is not for the entire government of China. They are owned by individual Chinese who collaborate with these Ugandan rich people, the Ugandan political leaders, majorly the political leaders. Okitegeera? Ne bakwatagana nabo. Era China eyinza n'obbeegaana nga tebamanyi they are cooperating with individuals. at the end of it, or at the end of all of it, you'll find out that nti omuntu oyo yamulobingira like for maybe for that place, who secured that place for that guy, Chinese guy, or you find out that asharinga abako kashare kafuna in that company. That's how these people are getting money.
Is Uganda in charge of their own resources? Are the sanctions put into place by the colonizers because they want to control Uganda? Question one, Uganda is not in charge of its own resources, though um, we still have ghost um, owners. And then two, these sanctions are put to control Uganda's economy. Yes, Indigo. Yes.
Um,
We are economical slaves.
another way how we can dive into that, where Uganda doesn't own resources. Uh, when I grew up as a child, I grew up knowing that I grew up eating fish like the way I want, eating fish, because of course we are in here, Lake Victoria. So we could eat fish. I even had a conversation with a border man who was taking me to town. The guy was like, he grew up not knowing like they separate like a fish like nebakwawuliramu into pieces, like it to eat into pieces. The guy told me at their home they used to give you like they give you the whole fish as a person. That was Uganda. But today we see that people, of course, they were chased from the lake. Eh? The people who remained from the lake, they are the Chinese that are taking this fish more. Okitegeera? Be baasigalawo wali ku nnyanja ku landing site. They are the same people who drive those trucks that take fish, the Chinese. Si Nabaganda, si Uganda. They are not Ugandans that are driving these trucks that take fish more away from the lake, from the landing sites, fish landing sites. They are Chinese. Kati gwe bwe bakulabayo nga oteekayo face, they can beat you up to death. Kusiba nga tebakusse. Even those people abasigalayo, the rich people, the governments want rich people. They normally cooperate with few rich individuals.
I told you, see, the same thing with our area. Bantu bakwatanga ebyennyanja ne bayiwa mu kikopo eky'amazzi. Omwana ayinza otula n'alya ekyennyanja nga kiramba. Kati nowadays bakitematemamu bifo, abamu balya n'efiire n'olwamukisa nti ffe tulya ekyennyanja nekiri. Abamu olowooza babiraba. Fiire liri eggumba n'okugirako ekitwe. Oli obirabyeko?
Mbulira, I hear about that stuff.
Nga bwe basemba embifo nga babitunda mu katale, the only thing that is there gutwe na mukira. Si kino ekikira ekinene, buli omukira okusembayo. This other part is packed or tilled. How can you fail to eat ekintu ekyo in your own country? And Chinese are Chinese are destroyers. These people are destructive. Abantu, they destroy apparently everything. They eat every living thing, whether young or they don't care. Anything that is breathing, they eat, even the dead. They are doing things greedily. They are doing things with malice. It's like they are going anytime, so they want to destroy everything. First, when they used to say, don't have this, of course, don't fish obwennyanja obuto, babi bagambako abachina n'amagi bagafishinga.
And tebalina kye bafishinga right about now, because they brought that Nile perch. It ate almost all other kinds of fish in the lake. Mulimu Nile perch. Nile perch, it is a cannibal fish. Erya ebyennyanja ebirala byonna ey'empuuta tesobola kubireka. Yeeyagala nga yeebeeramu yokka.
They have not brought that fish. I don't see it in the lakes there. Naye nga oba waliyo byennyanja ki? waliwo obwennyanja but yeah, even I don't know how they are calling. Let me first check.
Chinese people eat any and every and everything.
Yes. All the frogs, they've eaten all the frogs. Ha 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 ha. Oba nange oba yeno. Enene ki kasuluba.
Mm, mm. But
Naye nga ndaba naye bagamba nayo pangi.
ekyali ntobayo.
Eno. Si ekyo kye bakolamu bwe bati ne bayiwako omunnyo.
Because
Hmm.
because tilapia, I think that is the normal fish.
Hmm.
Tilapia yengege. Olwakuba
Hmm.
network yange erisimu doesn't even respond.
Nalupanki weeri.
I know tilapia it is the ngege.
Come on. Panki. They eat Africans too. Yes. Hmm. Yes, the lake supports about fishers in Uganda. DRE. Now Bola Brodoi, Banyabiki bino
This is the
Nansi.
ngege. This is the tilapia. This is the ngege. This one.
Yeah, that one is the Ngege, I know. Now the one that is found in Sijui Oveno now Bola, 51.5%, 33.6. Large species latest now
Now
punch 85.7%.
this is now the tilapia.
Mm, is it now? Is it tilapia now punch?
Now that's
Mm. Niloticus, what is this? We have hmm, for us our lake, the lake we share, our the water body, our water body is shared between Uganda and then Congo. But I had not seen tilapia in our village. I had not seen that. Sorry, now punch. But I've seen tilapia. But yeah, they are saying there is a certain the East
take care, family. I
African.
have to step away. This was a good episode.
Yes, Jibjaba tugalewo.
Hmm?
Tugatumenya ekyokulya. Yes, Jibjaba, we are also ending here. We're going to get something to eat. Thank you so much for loving and supporting us, Indigo. Thank you so much, sis. We are looking forward to always having you here, please. Jibjaba is a daily customer. Yeah. So I would love Indigo to be part of the of the family, please. And thank you so much for being here. I also want to thank the silent majorities who are always watching and not saying, not forgetting Robert Williams. Thank you for dropping in and saying hi to us, and also having those few comments. Thank you so much, guys. Whenever you are here, you make this show very lively, and of course, interaction so amazing. We learn, and of course, um, I get to share different views from each other. It has been me, Africa Maria, with my colleague INNOSSETU, and we are saying bye bye, kwaheri, good night.